Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue our discussion on Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, AD&D. I've been talking about being a dungeon master in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons and information from the DM's guide. We're going to continue where we left off. We were talking a little bit about alignment. Let's talk about alignment when it pertains to a kingdom or some kind of government, because it's not just players and monsters and NPCs that can have an alignment. A kingdom can have one too, and it's reflected upon by whoever's in charge of it, and the majority of the population kind of tells you what alignment that country would be, or that city would be. Now, that doesn't mean there can't be discrepancies. If there is a large discrepancy between whoever rules a city and whoever the populace is, well, that can cause a lot of tensions and unhappiness with the people, because whatever way the guy on top is effectively ruling them, they don't like. And this can actually be a source of adventure for a lot of characters. Now, the book does give some examples of how general information on how certain alignments would work in a kingdom. And if you want to check it out and just see what kind of kingdom that would be, it's suggestible if you're building a kingdom under that. Get an idea of which one works best for your kingdoms. Now, there are, of course, times where a country does not have a single alignment to this. And this pertains true to also governments, where there's different government officials, and actually cities. When you think about the kingdom, well, that can make sense. Different cities have different alignments. They might be close to each other, but they might be vastly different depending on how it works in the kingdom. On the other hand, when we're talking about the city itself not having a certain alignment to it, well, that's really going to occur when there's a lot of trade going on, or mixture of cultures that can bring in a lot of foreign ideas to have people of different ideas within the city. Now, a lot of times, whatever major religions are going to be in a kingdom are going to reflect what type of alignment that kingdom has. If it's, let's say, a lawful good kingdom, it's going to be deities which reflect being lawful good. You're not going to find chaotic evil deities very often, if you find any at all. Now let's move on from kingdoms and alignment and talk about alignment in some other ways. First off, you can have magic items with alignments. Oftentimes these are intelligent magic items, and having alignment is actually a sign of great purpose and power. Now, magic items can also change your character's alignment. Now, this is not a gradual change. This would be instantaneous, and you would think of it more like a brainwashing, where all of a sudden your character begins to think differently. And you would inform your player about that, whether you want to, like, in front of everybody or secretly, but you'd let them know that they have this change in the way they'd have it. And the fact is, it probably is better that you do it secretly, because everyone else is probably not going to detect the paradigm shift only when they start acting away. It's sort of like, I'm beginning to act a little different, and they don't know why. They have to find out sort of that thing out if they even want to change my alignment back. Now, alignment can be a major focus in a campaign. For example, you could have a war of good versus evil be the major focus of your campaign, or if you don't want to go so grandiose, you could have it kind of indirect, where you could say this one kingdom of alignment A and this other kingdom of alignment B, which are pretty, maybe not exactly diametrically opposite, but pretty close to it, like a lawful good city and a lawful evil city. They're at war, and the campaign will be focused around the war between that. And this is actually a great way of motivating PCs for a cause. If your PCs are based around one of these alignments that are being drawn into the fight, it's a good way of keeping their interest too, because alignment can be a very good driving factor to keep your players from being bored. It connects more to their characters and the way that they think. Drawing into these adventures, the PCs could go on quests which could hinder on the success or failure of any kind of war or conflict, or they themselves might not choose to be involved in that conflict if they feel it's a disadvantage for them to jump into it. They themselves could act as a neutral party attempting to prevent such a thing, and then their actions make a big difference in the overall outcome and storyline of what's going on. Now, the thing is, you also have to think about alignment. It is a tool. It is not a crutch. What I mean by this is your players are going to have an alignment. We're talking about your players right now. They're going to try to act within their alignment. If they start deviating from that in a large amount of way, you perhaps are going to want to warn them about that and let them know. Don't force them to be their alignment. If they want to act differently, then it's up to them to act that way. They're just going to probably reflect that in changes in alignment, which I'll talk about in a minute, but think about it that way, that they're choosing to act in that different way, and their changes to themselves should be reflected in this. Now, the players Detecting the alignment is a good way of saying that your players can share what alignments they are, or they don't need to, actually. The fact is, you can detect alignment with magic. You can figure out what alignment someone is, or you can talk to each other. The players can talk amongst each other, and they're out of game as the players. They might know each other's alignments, and in-game, maybe by the way that they've spoken amongst their characters, they have an idea of what their alignment would be in the game. But this is entirely up to them. They could also keep that secret. It is not something that is needed to be shared. And it also might help that no one really talks about it that way, because then it might be easier for them to get along in a great amount of ways, because they don't have to sort of conform to an ideal that they're looking to. Now, previously I'd mentioned quick magical-based changes to alignment, but you can also involuntarily change your alignment without knowing about it. What this means is that's more of a slow process. Effectively, your DM keeps track of the kind of actions that you're doing, and the more of the actions you're doing, the more your alignment may shift. So if you start acting in a particular way which seems to reflect a different alignment, your DM might keep track of that and figure that out. The thing is about your own character, if you've noticed that too, you could also just go to your DM and say to them, hey, I think my alignment is changing because of the way I've been acting in the way I want to play my character, and then you'd be able to change your alignment that way too. So it can be voluntary too if you see that your character is acting in a certain way and reflect upon it. So that's actually an interesting thing for both players and GMs to note, that both of them can cause this slow-term change to their characters and their alignment based upon the way that they end up acting. So that's it for today. I've just been talking about alignments in your world, alignments with kingdoms, alignments in your characters a little bit more, alignments in how it can be used in your campaigns. There is only a little bit more information to go over for this, and then I will move into talking about proficiencies briefly, because it's an important thing to note, money, and move into equipment, and talk a little bit more about that, and working with it on the DM side of things. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It shows your support with the channel, the empire, and the work I do. And until the next time, I bid you farewell.